Let's talk about jobs a little bit with you, Marvin, because I had an interesting conversation with you before all of this began. And the project that you're working on now, tell me a little bit about that. You're sort of a startup that gives other startups a chance, kind of in a way.
Yeah, what we're doing is called Gazelle Lab, and it's modeled after a program that was started out in Boulder, Colorado, about 6 years ago. And it's called Techstars, and it's really a seed stage capital and mentorship for first-time entrepreneurs. So we help somebody who is maybe a technologist or has an idea, meet a technologist and find funding. And then for 3 months, we pair them up with mentors that can really help them learn from experiences that they've had. And then at the end of the 3 months, in our case, November 17th, we run into Mahaffey Theater, and we're bringing in investors from all across the country to come and hear pitches from 6 startup teams that are working on their business to get ready to get funded and get a real seed stage round raised. And we've reached out really to the community, the universities. Part of what we're doing in the afternoon of our demo day is having a student pitch competition. So all the entrepreneurship programs from all around Central Florida, Tampa Bay, the student teams get a chance through competition to come and pitch the same investors that are going to be hearing pitches from the companies that are going through the program.
You were talking about, and he's seen a lot of innovators come and go. He's seen a lot of big ideas happen. We talked about Redbox. I'd be curious to know when you meet an entrepreneur or one who hopes to become one, what is it that you're looking for? Is it something that is tangible or intangible? You know it right away when you see somebody who's got it?
It depends. I mean, in our case, for this program that we're doing now, we had over 100 companies apply, and we only were able to select 6 that we thought we could make an impact and help them. And it's really, you look at the founder's background, what they did before, what their perspective and life experiences have been to try to make them suited to be able to go out and try to tackle that problem. A lot of it is just passion and tenacity. And after Steve Jobs passed away, there was a lot of talk about the self-efficacy and just that drive that people have, and you can't really teach that. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to find a way to make it work. And there's stories about Fred Smith, who started Federal Express, who was almost out of business, like bankrupt, and had like $10,000 left, and went to Las Vegas and like gambled and made payroll for FedEx. And there's stories like that that people don't hear about. But if you have that drive and passion and determination, you'll find a way to make it work. And that's something you can't really teach, that hustle, and for entrepreneurs. I mean, a lot of people here that have built successful businesses took them 20 years to be an overnight success.
So what do you do? Do you do something like Marvin does? Do you connect innovators with capital? I mean, how does it work?
Sure. The small business funding and training continuum is a large one with a lot of niche players, and we are in the micro niche. When you were previewing what I might say and said we're looking for the next big thing, I think it's more accurate to say that we're looking for a bunch of small things. Micro enterprise, which got sexy back in Bangladesh, and Professor Yunus and the Grameen Bank back in the mid-'70s, has slowly moved around the world. It's been in the American context for about 25, 30 years, and has literally lifted millions of people up to better opportunity. In the American context, micro enterprises are this. They are small businesses with 5 employees or less who need less than $50,000 of capital and can't access it through the traditional banking system for a variety of reasons. Challenged credit, lots of reasons.
Is there a big market for the 5 employees or less? Sounds pretty manageable. Is there, maybe with tight economic times, that's the way to go?
It's a huge market. Actually, 85% of the small businesses in our country are micro businesses. And the Association for Enterprise Opportunity is kind of our national umbrella organization. And they researched this, that if just 1 in 3 of the micro enterprises in our country hired just 1 employee, the country would be at full employment.
Wow.
So that's evidence of why we do this work. And we train the micro entrepreneurs, many of whom are low to middle income folks, prepare them. They obviously take ownership of the idea. They need to have, they've got that inner thing that entrepreneurs have. no matter your income level, not everybody's cut out to entrepreneurship and to running a business. So we spend time with folks on that. But no matter how good of a job you do training or equipping an entrepreneur to succeed, if they can't get access to capital, it's extremely frustrating and dejecting. And many of our clients don't have, a rich aunt or a credit card to finance their business. So many of our first clients have done loans of between $2,000 and $10,000. When we first started, we thought that we were going to be an organization that was both the trainer and the lender, and there are many organizations like that in the country that have done a great job. But as y'all can imagine, it would take a while for us as a nonprofit to build the capacity to be successful, efficient lenders. So in March, we found a community development credit union in our community called Manatee Community Federal Credit Union, which actually used to be Tropicana's in-house credit union, that said, we believe in the work that you're doing. As a community development credit union, we serve a similar mission in investing in low and middle income communities. They said, you take care of the training, we'll take care of the lending, and they set up $1 million loan fund for micro entrepreneurs in Manatee County. So the access to capital and loan fund grew 20-fold overnight, and it's powerful work. We believe that the economic recovery will come via Main Street and not Wall Street. And one other thing that we recognize in starting our work is there's a stratosphere of entrepreneurs in our community that with access to high-level advanced technical assistance and unique ideas could really grow to scale quickly and create a significant number of jobs and really build wealth in the community. So we're getting ready to announce a partnership with the Kauffman Foundation, which is based in Kansas City, where be the Urban Entrepreneur Partnership, where they'll on an annual basis train about 60 entrepreneurs who we together have identified have the idea, the viability, and the stuff that it takes to grow quickly to scale and create a lot of jobs.
And does anybody have a question out there?
Can you talk about the investor base in Tampa? There's certainly a lot of wealthy people here, right? But are those people really engaged and invested in startup companies? And can you just talk a little bit about that climate?
It's a tough crowd, the investor community here. I had talked to quite a few people who are certainly capable of writing a check to invest in this program. And it's funny because nobody wants to be first, but now a lot of people have wanted to be next. And I personally invested so I could go to them and say, look, I'm doing this because I live here, I have little kids, I want them to have a place to grow up. You can't think of it just as a pure investment. You have to kind of think of it as like this for-profit philanthropy angle. And I got myself involved, I got a couple other people, and there's 6 investors in our core fund, and all of them have been really successful entrepreneurs. There's one of them who kind of wants to remain a little bit anonymous, but the other folks have built companies here in town and been very successful, had nice exits, and they felt a bit of an obligation to give back to the community because Tampa's been good to them and entrepreneurship has been good to them and their family. But by and large, it's a very cliquish town, and if you don't belong to the right golf club or you're not drive the right kind of car and the way people look at you and things, it's tough to get people to, they'll talk the talk, but when it comes to writing a check, they can't find their pen. So I think that's, it's a frustration. And there's been a lot of discussion about people that have started companies here, taken money from out of state, built the company up and sold it, and part of their exit was they had to move to Palo Alto or move to another place to get funding. And you hate to see that, it's disappointing, but the seed stage and concept stage investors, there's not a lot of that here yet. And I think what we have to do is try to work really hard and take a long view and help some younger entrepreneurs have a nice exit and make $35 million and reinvest it back in the community, and not forget where they came from and how hard it was in the beginning to get funding. And it's tough though. That's a big problem, and that's a big complaint that people have about this market. As you look around, there's definitely a lot of wealth, and there is. I can see why the 99% the Occupy Wall Street guys are pissed, but the people that want to be entrepreneurs, you find a way, and you can find a way to get your company off the ground with not as much capital as you thought you needed. And it's just success breeds success. So we just have to work really hard together as a community to support entrepreneurship, help people get funding, get their businesses off the ground with customer development, and hopefully, these guys that are starting the programs with the Gazelle Lab are early 20s. They'll build a company up 3 or 4 years and get some liquidity and be able to help out, the next crop of students that come along that want to start businesses.
I'd be interested to know, maybe Rob, you can answer this, and certainly if any of you guys know, please. How is the city of Tampa to work with from a governmental permitting perspective. I mean, what about the local government and their ability to work efficiently to get the jobs done?
I think the mayor's made it a priority to be a service-friendly environment. I think the cities that are successful in doing infill development, the ones that have grown in the last decade, have had that public-private approach, not to give free rein to the developer, but to realize it's an increase, it's a tax basis. It brings creativity. We have a hard time keeping talent 10 years ago in the city. When we opened the office 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I had people who said, I'm going to stay here for a few years when I finish master's and I'm going to go somewhere else. That's disheartening because I moved here because I liked all the things it had to offer.
Where do they want to go? I mean, why, are they wanting to stay now?
They are wanting to stay now. Some of them see the benefit of that and see working towards that model, but I think we have to work harder to keep that talent. It becomes a drain on our business to bring in new people and re-educate. And I think the city, I think the mandate, the mayor said in a crew meeting right after taking office, I want to be accessible. I want to make sure that we are successful as a city, and we're known for being, again, you don't want it to be easy. You want to make sure it's a win-win for both the taxpayers and the people who are investing that capital into the city.
Well, I know my perception of downtown, having worked and developed in downtown for a while, but I want to know what the panel's perception is about safety. Is downtown a safe, clean place, or is downtown not a safe, clean place? And if it isn't, what recommendations would you have to change that perception and reality?
I think the areas that are populated are definitely safe. The areas that have nightlife, that have restaurants, that somebody pioneered 2 beautiful buildings north of our office. Those areas have people there. They're coming in out of restaurants. People feel safe when there's other activities. If you don't have amenities where people feel they can go do those things, no. So there are parts and pockets that do have that, and parts and pockets that are the exact opposite, that you do have concerns about living next to. But someone has to pioneer it. Someone has to pioneer either the amenity.
Right, we need more urban pioneers.
Well, without the critical mass, there is no grocery store. Publix isn't going to come downtown if there's 3,000 residents. They need a lot more than that. If you have 2 buildings full of 500 people, they're like, thanks, call us in a few more years. That's not Publix being greedy. That doesn't work for them on a business model anywhere.
I think right now we have a central business district that empties out at 5 o'clock at night, or people aren't in there in the weekend. Jane Jacobs' Death and Life of Great American Cities, the Eyes on the City, you want a kind of balanced development that has housing and that has mixed use, and that you have a kind of presence of people who are there at all different times of the day, basically.
I'd just like to throw one thing out there.
Sure.
It's great to get this event tonight and get the conversation started. And I think maybe something that 83 Degrees could facilitate is use the web and the technology of social media to continue the conversation after this and crowdsource everybody's good ideas about what can be done and let everybody have a voice in it. It's not just like Mayor Buckhorn has made himself very accessible, and I think he's doing an awesome job, but he doesn't have all the answers either. He's looking for people to come to him with ideas. And just like the Arab uprising on Twitter, like it has to start with social media and continuing the conversation, because it has to be kind of an asynchronous conversation. There's a lot of people that couldn't get down here tonight that could contribute to this, but if we could continue the conversation on the web, maybe do it under 83 Degrees since they organized the event, I think that's a good place to just get it going.
Great idea.